Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. This is part two. Technically, it's a series of Who is God to Me, so I've got a series, but I'm throwing this one in. It's going to be part two of that, of Who is Jesus to Me, okay? Now, this is an impromptu. I'm going to take a stab at this real quick. So this should be a very short video, hopefully only 3 or 4 minutes at most. So let's get our things going. Got our bougie candle going. All right. And we're going to start a new winter sage. So this is winter sage. It's a little bit different than the white sage. Doesn't get as smoky. The white sage to me can get out of control. Like, holy shit. Alright, so got it on fire. Alright, so let's get this going. Well, that's brand new, so it's got a little smoke to it. Alright. Let's put that out. Okay, so I want to explain something I learned from experience, and then something I heard in Buddhist temple. And let's get to the purpose of this video, is the spiritual side of things. Okay, so a lot of things that I understand now came after my awakening. It came from a larger understanding. So I never heard of this until after. In fact, I never went to Buddhist temple until after I woke up, because nobody knew what I was going through. I was like, what is this? It was really cool. But back then you didn't have YouTube. You couldn't Google it and stuff. You didn't have any of that. So my ex-girlfriend, my girlfriend at the time, was Buddhist, and she was from Laos. And I begged her to take me to her family's temple, and she finally did. And so long story short, I learned something interesting through the years. Now, I'm by no means a Buddhist scholar. Again, when I went to temple, I didn't go to learn the religion of Buddhism. I wanted to do energy healing, become more conscious, and stuff like that. So one thing I learned, how to explain this? Okay, so when I surrendered to Christ, I opened up, wide open, and it was like something came down inside me. All right? Now, when that happened, it was like I suddenly had all these understandings that I was like, well, where did this come from? How do I know this? I was just writing this in journals back then, okay? And a lot of it became part of my courses, okay, that I teach. And it was something I'd never heard anywhere, I'd never seen anywhere, and yet every now and then I'd bump into it. It's like, oh, that's from Deveda. I'm like, what's Deveda? What is that? And I'd never heard of it. And they're like, really? You didn't study that? No, never heard of it. So a lot of it was learnings that eventually, as the next decade or two went by, I started finding pieces in other places. But a lot of the teaching in my course, I still haven't found it anywhere. So there's something interesting that I found, is that when they talk about Buddha, how do I explain this? It's like, all right, so it's like this, and this is a big part of the teaching in my course for men. It's like a big V. So I blew out the candle because it's too smoky. I got a different candle because that just chokes me up. So it's like this. When you open up, it's like God can now come down and fill you. Now, I've heard it in other spiritual teachings where we are kind of like the needle on the record player. And when we open up to God, it's like God can play life. Like, let's say here's the record, and that needle goes down on the record, and now music is played. Okay? So when you open up to God, it's like you're allowing God to almost experience life through you. It's like you're surrendering to God. Like one of the beliefs, teachings is that our great creator we'll call God. I don't know, I call God, was at one point one whole complete being. The problem with that is there's no contrast, so you don't know that you exist. So what happened is God created a part, and say this part became one of us. Now it's like God could look at you, you could look at it, and like there's this kind of contrast. And then God created a whole bunch of us, a bunch of parts. So we are all a part of God. Little bubbles, we'll call it. And God is living through us. So we're having all these wildly, randomly different experiences, from pain to pleasure to happiness to fun to sorrow to excitement to reward and success to the complete opposite. It's almost like God is having all these experiences through us. Okay, because we all can become this open V. So, I don't want to quote this, but I'm going to say it in this way. If I'm wrong, please forgive me. But one of the ways it was almost explained to me is that it's almost as if like Buddha had meditated to such a point and he popped open. And that's what happened to me when I popped open, and the Spirit of God, or whatever you call it, came down inside and filled up Buddha. Okay? And one of the teachings, I think the word is avatar. Oh, my notes are over here. So on the planet, there is basically an avatar at all times. And one of the things that they say is like, in order for, it's almost as if there has to be one great teacher like Buddha or Jesus, an avatar on the planet that has the Spirit of God in them. Without that, we would all die, okay? So this has to exist somewhere on the planet at all times, okay? So one of the thoughts is that Jesus became that. Now here's something a lot of people, I think a lot of Christians are shocked about. Buddhists believe in, not only believe in Jesus, Jesus is one of their top 5 great teachers. That's the way it was explained to me by 2 different monks. One was an older monk, one was a younger monk. And they're like, yeah, we absolutely know Jesus. Jesus came down, and I don't remember if they said it was, let's see, that would be east of India, or it was in Burma or somewhere around there, which is where Buddhism is, okay? And when I went through my awakening and I started studying Buddhism and this whole awakening and opening and stuff, you start looking at the teachings of Jesus and you're like, it's exactly the same thing. Like Buddha says, look within, Jesus says, look within. When you open up to your right brain and have internal awareness, your pupils begin to enlarge. Look at every picture of Jesus Christ. His pupils always have this enlarged, peaceful look. That's what causes the peaceful look, okay? It's called internal awareness. It makes you very peaceful. So there, I started to notice all these similarities. And there's also, I saw a channel on YouTube. It was some British guy, I believe he was British, but he had went down and found evidence of Jesus in Southeast Asia. Again, I don't remember if it was Burma or if it was Burma and it was Laos, but it was down in that area, Thailand, etc. And the funny thing is, at least from my learning from different Buddhist monks, they're like, yeah, we absolutely believe in Jesus. He is one of our great teachers, just like what you would call Buddha. He was a Buddha, okay? So I just find it kind of funny because a lot of Christians, okay, most Christians are religious. That's the left brain. It's about rules, structure, organization. It's about right or wrong, either or. Whereas the teachings of Jesus are not about right or wrong, either or. It's not about the law. The left brain is about rules, or in other words, the law. The right brain is about love. It's about emotions. It's about feelings. It's about spirit. Everything that Jesus teaches, okay? When you read the teachings of Jesus from your right brain, all of a sudden it has a 180 degree, all these things that you read, like, wow, that's completely different. But here's the interesting thing. When I woke up, everything from the teachings of Jesus, everything fell into place. Everything made sense. There was no question. There was no confusion. That doesn't match. This verse doesn't match that verse. When you read it from your right brain, it's like 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 1 = 3, 2 + 2 = 4. It becomes very simple, like unbelievably simple. Now compare that with the left brain, where the left brain is the divider. The left brain is like looking under a microscope where you literally block out all reality and focus on this one microscopic thing. So the left brain uses negation, minus sign languaging, where it's saying no, not, can't, won't, shan't. Whereas the right brain is the addition brain, where it's putting the pieces of the puzzle together and everything makes sense. Whereas the left brain divides the verses and the passages in the Bible. So in other words, it's separating the verses instead of adding them together. When you add things together, all of a sudden, it's as simple as putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and all of a sudden, you see how everything falls into place. It becomes very simple. The right brain puts all the verses together into one bigger picture, and it spells love. Simple. When Christ says, I wish I had the actual quote, he says, before you can go to heaven. Again, I'm not quoting directly, but you have to become like these children. Well, that's the right brain. The right brain is the five senses. It's about creativity. It's about fun. It's about, trying different things. It's the open mind. It's about colors and sounds and feelings and flavors. And life becomes very fun. Another thing about Buddhist monks, they're funny. Most monks are unbelievably funny and playful and happy. Childlike. Same thing that Christ talks about. And so am I. A lot of people expect me to be this very serious life coach. Not at all. You don't make change and shift, and you don't begin to enjoy life until you approach things from a playful, curious way. And curiosity is in the right brain. The left brain is all about rule, structure, organization, right or wrong, this or that. It's completely opposite of the teachings of Jesus. All right? So I think that's it. But there was one other thought is I looked for it right now and I couldn't find it. And I'm going to have to go back and read from beginning to end. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But Jesus, when he was a little child, I think he was like 10, 11, 12 years old, he was kind of famous. And a lot of people were like, wow, like he impressed the hell out of the, I forget the name, but they're like the priests and whatnot back then. I forget what they called them. Can't think of the names. Pharisees, Sadducees, and whatever they called them. But then all of a sudden, Jesus kind of disappeared. Like he was gone, right? If I remember correctly, when he came back around the age of 28 or so, I could have sworn it said, and he came from the east. Now, I know there's a lot about saying the second coming of Christ is going to be from the east and the east star, but it mentions the east a lot. But if I remember right, when he came back into the Bible, I believe it was at the age of 28 where he came back and it said something about him coming from the east. I'm like, well, what is east of the Middle East? That would be India. That would be East India. That would be Burma, all right, where Buddhism is, okay? So, and I just Googled a lot. There's a lot of writing about Jesus spending time in that part of the world, okay? You don't have to believe me. That is all speculation. But I can tell you this. When I went through my awakening, it was like I opened up like this. And it literally was like something came down inside me. And then when I started learning about these different teachings from Buddhism, etc., that's generally what they say is like you open up and something comes down inside you, the Spirit of God. Okay? So that's just another look at the possibilities of Christ. And that is actually what I believe what is going on. So if I were to suggest something, number one, you don't have to believe me. That's totally okay. I'm totally okay with that. I would say number one, really, open your mind a little bit more. Expand, because I do believe we are at the cusp right now. We are literally at the cusp of this, where a lot more truth about what was hidden and not included in the Bible is beginning to get revealed. Okay? God bless you guys. See you soon.